Welcome to The Uncanny Lens, where we are exploring self-concept reflections in pop culture and media. I'm your co-host, Jinx.
And I'm Minx.
And today we're very excited because we have a special guest with us. The amazing Sunshine Rains is here, and she's going to be sharing all sorts of amazing things about her story and her music with us. And we cannot wait to get started. But in the meantime, Minx, what's new in your media mindset this week?
Well, you recently shared some fun stuff about lessons in chemistry and just how inspiring the character is there. So I actually got caught up on that show this week, and oh my God, it's just such a beautiful, powerful story about this woman who kind of stumbles into motherhood and has to support her family by herself. And I just love what one of the characters says about you don't think that like you can possibly take on any more, but once you become a parent and a mother, like your world just expands and you have that ability to just be able to expand with the needs that arise, right? And that you don't know that you have that inside of you until it kind of is thrown at you, right? And I feel the truth in that so deeply, and it just makes me feel really powerful as a mom.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah. And how about you, Jinx?
Well, actually, I'm going to go last. So I would like to hear from Sunshine. I would like to know what's new in your media mindset this week, Sunshine.
Okay, well, I've recently started watching this show. It's like a DC type of hero show called Doom Patrol, and it's based on these like unconventional heroes who don't really think they're heroes, but they're like they each have their unique capabilities and talents. And I was just watching it, and the episode where they were talking about someone called them heroes, and they were like, "We're not heroes," and it just reminded me of like me coming into my power, and it reminded me that everybody is a hero. They have their own special talents, their special powers, and it's just up to the individual to really tap into those powers and claim it and use it for the better to help and to do what they were given those powers for. So it really has me like looking at myself a lot differently. Not really a lot differently, but just it kind of enhanced my self-concept of my powers. And like even though what I do isn't like I don't have mind reading capabilities or I can't fly, what I do is
not yet
is a power, right? What I do is a power. So yeah, I'm really loving this show too.
Well, I love the new show recommendation here because I'm going to check that out now because that sounds like a lot of fun.
It's really good.
And I appreciate that you were able to recognize your own power, like seeing that being reflected back to you in this new show that you're watching. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I love that. That's the whole reason that we started doing this podcast.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Of course.
Okay. So what's going on with me over here? So the new season of Upload, which is an Amazon Prime 30-minute, like, I don't know if you would, I guess it's a comedy show, dark comedy, perhaps. Dark comedy is probably the right word for it. I was catching up on some of the episodes before just because I had forgotten a little bit about what had happened. And then I was getting into the new season. And I think what's really coming up for me is how we deal with death in our culture and how this show sort of is highlighting that even in death, in this world, right, the rich are still even then afforded more access than others. Right? You have to be rich in this world to be able to upload when you die, or you have to have somebody who's rich who pays for you, or in some way being funded to be able to upload your consciousness to have this sort of immortality. And it just makes me reflect on the things that we see in our culture and this sort of late stage capitalism phase that we're in. And it's funny to laugh at. Like, this is in the not so distant future. It's, I think, around 20 years in the future, maybe. And one of the things that they were celebrating was Cyber Deals Day. And it took me a minute, but I realized what it was, is that it was supposed to be Thanksgiving, and that the idea of Thanksgiving had just been completely thrown away. And now it was just all about Black Friday. And that's what they were celebrating. That's why they were getting together and eating with their family. That's why they were, doing the things that we typically do around holiday, was because of the cyber deals, not because of, I mean, I'm not saying Thanksgiving is a holiday that needs to be celebrated. I'm just saying that a lot of people do come together with family during that time.
Right.
And it was interesting to see that being reflected back, that it's just like, no, now it's just Black Friday Day. You're getting together to go shopping together. You know what I mean?
I can actually see that happening.
It is happening, right? You know
Sadly,
what I mean? It is. It's like we are like living in the dystopian books that they were writing not that long ago. So anyway, not to bring the vibe down or whatever, but I do think it's important, because what was inspiring to me about this show is that there are the rebels. There are the people who are like, no, this is bullshit, and we need to do something different. We need to do something about it. And that's the part that's inspiring to me. I really love that there are people who are out there willing to keep doing what they can to make a difference, so that everybody can have their needs met.
Right. The heroes.
Yeah. Okay, well, now that we have explored the dystopian future that we have in store, let's get back to some sunshine over here. So let me introduce you all to Sunshine Rains. She is a multifaceted creatrix who intends to inspire people all over the world. Whether she's doing poetry, fashion, sharing the lessons she's learning in life, creating music or arts and crafts, the intention with showing it to the world through social media is to inspire, heal, uplift, teach, or to just bring a smile to a face. Since she stepped into the role that she believes she was created for in this lifetime, not only has she changed her entire life, but she's helped to change the lives of tens of thousands of people all over the globe. Please welcome the amazing Sunshine Rains. Yay!
I'm so glad to be here.
I am very thrilled to have you with us. Just absolutely delighted.
As our first guest.
First guest.
That's so big. Yeah. This is my first appearance on a podcast too. So it's a first for all three of us.
From here, everything next is like Taylor Swift levels of success for all of us. We had to do this now because obviously we're going to be so busy later that. So I'm really interested to learn absolutely everything there is to learn about you and what goes into creating all of the amazing things that you're creating. So Minx, I know you have some specific questions. So do you want to kick things off?
Yeah, definitely. I was so inspired just reading all of the things and listening to the artists that have inspired you in your life, because they were all pretty much new to me. And that's always really exciting. And, Jinx and I were talking about how we both have kind of lived within periphery of each other's upbringings, at least, because we were both like born and raised in Colorado and have moved to California as adults. And so our backgrounds, they might not be identical, but at least we've kind of been in the periphery of each other's lives, for quite a long time. And I have not spent much time on the East Coast, and I would just love to hear a little bit about where you grew up and have lived most of your life, how that's impacted your music and your mindset.
Yeah, well, okay, I was born in a small town in South Carolina called Hopkins, and I was raised there, but then I moved to the city, Columbia, and I've been here most of my life. I recently moved back after a couple of years, but growing up here, just meeting different people, seeing different ethnicities and cultures, and it's kind of like a melting pot, at least the area where I mostly grew up. So I was always what's that word, exposed to different music, different people, different beliefs, and I just kind of navigated my way through and found what I like. So yeah, there's like a lot of different festivals here. So my mom always took me and my sisters to those growing up. And it just, I knew there was a lot more to life than some people, I guess I would say, like some people that were around me. So I it really opened my eyes at a young age to everything that was out there. And I kept my head in the book. Like everybody who knew me, all the adults when I was a kid, they always said that about me. I would read, I would read, I would read, I would read. And that also opened me to a lot of different worlds.
Yeah.
And like experiences and words and just things like that. So yeah, I love it here. I was scared of it a little while, but I love it here.
I'm curious, you mentioned that it felt scary.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that you're willing to share? What felt scary about it?
Yeah, just because the person that I am today isn't the person that I was a few years ago. So like there was a lot of shame around who I was as a teenager, and I kind of ran away from here. So like I went to Massachusetts, I moved to a whole nother city. So I just didn't want to come back here because of the shame and the guilt that I had around myself. But through the affirmations and mantras and meditating and reading and things like that, it helped me get over that shame, and it helped me face where I am. I literally was forced to move back here. So I kind of had no choice, but I needed to come back here so I could heal those parts of me. I love her now, you know, like I was running away from her, but we cool. We tight now.
I like that you were able to find some peace in that way. I haven't always had the same experiences. So Minx mentioned a little bit that we both grew up in Colorado, and yet we were worlds apart.
Yeah.
Because
20 minutes away, worlds apart.
Yeah. I mean, maybe more like 45 minutes away.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, there was, Minx. Well, I'll talk about where I grew up. I'll let Minx talk about where she grew up. But I grew up in an area where we had a defunct arsenal that was poisoning the water. So you couldn't drink the water in the area that I was growing up in. And you had to like drive all the way out and get like jugs of water once a week or a couple times a week. And that's what you used for drinking and cooking. And we also had a oil refinery in our town that was poisoning our air. And so there was just a lot of gross things happening in that way, right? As far as the way that our health and our livelihoods were being impacted by what was going on with those types of poisons in our immediate area. And then on top of that, the reason that was able to happen, right, is because it was a low income area and the population was predominantly white, blue collar, Latino, and Chicano. And so that's why there was an oil refinery and an arsenal. And the area where Minx grew up in is very different. They have tried to do some of this type of climate damaging things in that area, and those people can shut it down. The people who live in these more affluent areas can shut it down. The people who live in an area where everybody is working 2 or 3 jobs to be able to support their family, they don't have time to go to meetings and shut this type of shit down. And so we were always sort of...
I feel like we were in the periphery of each other. I feel like that's a good way to explain it because, like, I would go through that area, so I saw like those neighborhoods when I would travel to different parts of the state, and then you probably came up to the part where I'm from, Boulder, Colorado. It's like a bunch of rich white people, and it was very much worlds apart, but within the periphery of one another, right? So
and we still ended up with evolutions in our mindset and within our lives and our healing and all of the other things that we've done, because you've worked on unlearning a lot of things that comes with growing up in the type of area that you grew up in. I have had to work on different things, and so yet we still crossed paths, and so much so that we're friends. And now we've started this podcast and we're building a business together and all of these other things, you know what I mean? So it's just really interesting how we can all be in such different worlds and still be brought together when we commit to healing these patterns, these wounds, even this ancestral trauma that as women, we all three are going to experience, right? But then also Sunshine's even going to experience that in a different way than Minx or I would.
Definitely. Yeah. I'm really curious, Sunshine, about kind of what you were talking about a bit earlier, where some of this shift happened, where you were able to like come back to where you were from, maybe feeling like you're being dragged there against your will, but like having to be faced with like part of your identity that you were trying to shed and like re-loving yourself. What was that process like? What helped you get through it?
Family. And oddly enough, the family dynamic that I have now, especially with my mom and my sisters, like we have such a stronger bond now that after I spent that time away. So having them here for me and my daughter in a way that we've never had each other before, it was just, that's what really got me through it. And a lot of journaling and even connecting with my friends, family that I haven't spoke to in a while. And it's funny because when I came here, a lot of other people that I went to high school with, actually, like, we reconnected in ways that, like, we just didn't have these relationships or these conversations before. And we were all kind of forced back here to our hometown after being away for so long. So yeah, having them here for me and stepping into Sunshine Reigns and the community and the people that I've met online has helped too. And just knowing that I'm not alone, because after being alone for so many years on my own, like I needed my people back, and I needed them like right here in my face almost every day. So that's what really got me through it.
Yeah, community.
Yeah.
Community and support. That's the other thing that I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Definitely. Because I felt like it was like a period of time, I think it was like 3.5 years, where I was just isolated, and I didn't value community. I didn't value like letting people into what I had going on, or helping me, or just talking to people on the daily. So finding that was key. Like community is so important. I see that now.
Yeah.
Okay, so something that I would like to ask you about that aspect as far as community and support. I was the type of person, I was super, super independent before. And as I started going through my intentional self-concept shifts, I really, really, really worked on learning how to ask for help, learning how to say, this is a need I have, this is something that I need support with. And that didn't feel comfortable to me at first, but I did my affirmations, and I did all of the work that I did to get myself to a place where I could start feeling comfortable with that. I was feeling brave. I was feeling courageous. And so I would take these chances and I would do this. And what ended up being reflected back to me, which I've been really looking for answers around, was that me asking for things actually freaked everybody out.
They weren't used to it.
Exactly. And so I noticed that sometimes it even makes people mad because they suddenly feel like they can't meet my needs or something. And so it's actually been sort of the opposite effect for me. And so I'm just sort of curious from both of you, what could we suggest for other people who might be experiencing something similar? And for me, I'll take your advice too. Like, what is something that can be done for somebody who has taken this step in changing that, right? They are able to like reach out, ask for help now, but they're being met with something, that's not helping.
So I feel like what's helpful for me is to kind of ask first what somebody's capacity is. And then you kind of understand what you can ask for that doesn't go beyond their capacity, right? So it's like, okay, my capacity today, I've got like a billion things going on. My kid just pooped all over the place and smeared whatever on the walls, and I have to clean that up. And then, I've got something else going on over here. I got to make dinner, so there's, I think that maybe before asking for help, asking about capacity might be a good strategy. I don't know. What do you think, Sunshine?
I think that's good. That's actually good, because a lot of people, even me sometimes, like I don't have the capacity for what people are asking me for. So it kind of feels like I'm having a battle with myself. And also, I'm reading this book right now, Find Your People by Jenny Allen, I believe. And yeah, it's really good. She was saying how sometimes when we do have to ask for help, like getting out of that habit of being so independent, not asking for help, getting into it, getting into the habit of asking for help. Like some people aren't going to be able to meet our needs, and that's okay, but that allows us to make room and find the people who will, or find the people who do value that community and who are willing to help us in those kind of ways. So I think that's those, both what Mink said and what Jenny Allen suggested is very important and helpful.
I think that is brilliant, just hearing it said out loud. I mean, when you're in the middle of something like that, it's kind of hard because you can't really see the forest for the trees, right? And so just hearing, yes, ask somebody like what their capacity is, but then also having a larger community. And so that is where it becomes like part of our responsibility then. And, it doesn't become like this victim thing, right? Because you can just be like, okay, I see just by talking about this for myself, I need to build more community. I don't have a big enough community to be able to, for everybody to be able to hold space, especially. This is why I think it's so important for us to be connecting in community, period. Living in this kind of capitalistic hellscape that we live in, it's even more important to have community because it's really difficult to do all of the things that are required for us to do in daily life to survive, have a clean home, eat home cooked meals or whatever, if that's what we prefer, or whatever it may be, or even just finding time to work on a creative project or something. Unless you Minx can go and say, hey, can someone watch my daughter for 45 minutes so I can go work on my book? Or Sunshine can say, hey, can someone watch my daughter for 45 minutes while I go work on some music? If those resources aren't available, then of course it's going to be really difficult to do anything, and it's going to feel like you don't have support or community because you don't.
And especially if you don't ask that capacity ahead of time, people are going to feel disappointed in themselves and like they let you down if they cannot give you what you are asking for. Because, if they're in your community, then they clearly love you and want to support you, right? But then they feel like they've failed as well. So I feel like capacity is a really important question when we're talking about support.
It's also their responsibility to be, truthful about what their capacity is, and not to say that they can take on more than what they actually may be able to, because that's going to lead everybody to like, you have to be able to take care of yourself and have your own boundaries. And I think that that's one of the most beautiful things I've learned about boundaries is it's teaching other people how to be in relationship and how to love you, and that's why they're so important, because otherwise it sends this message that love is boundaryless. And that's actually not true. That's actually moving more into abuse, right? So,
especially for people pleasers, that's a hard thing, and that's something that I've had to work through big time in my life.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, Sunshine, where did a lot of this shift for you when we look at some of the influences that you shared with us? Is The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scovel Shinn, The Handbook to Higher Consciousness by Ken Keyes Jr. Those were a couple of books you shared. Some musical artists that you shared were Londrelle, Toni Jones, N Teeb, Tracy G, Lava, Oshun, all people who I listen to and love, by the way. I'm also familiar with Lawrence. I haven't read the Handbook of Higher Consciousness, so I added it to my Goodreads list. So thank you for that recommendation.
You're welcome.
And then you also cited Louise Hay, who is one of my favorites. She's actually who got me into all of this, was Louise Hay's teaching. And Hines and Exo Michaela. So how did all of these people who have influenced you, how were they a part of this shift?
Well, I think Louise Hayes was one of the first of these creators and truth teachers that I was exposed to, and just her, like her morning rampages and her answering the questions in her, I think they were like conventions, or I don't really know, but I found her through YouTube. But finding affirmations, I think that was along with Louise Hayes, that was the first kind of technique that I discovered. And then with everybody else just kind of fell in line as I continued through my journey. So with all the music, since I've always been into music, but I never really claimed my musical abilities. I never really claimed that power.
Yeah, I'm really curious about that shift. Like, at what point did that mindset shift and you understood there was actually like a path and direction for you in your music? Is it through these teachings?
Yeah, kind of. So I would listen to Louise Hayes, and then I read the Game of Life and How to Play It. And it kind of just opened my mind and my eyes to like the reality and how real life is, and how much control, even though you don't have much control over how things happen or when things happen, but you can have control over your mind. And that's something that I realized I didn't have for a very long time. So finding that, and then listening to all these, the like Exo Michaela and Hines and their experiences, and seeing how we were going through the same things and taking their teachings and applying it to my life. It kind of helped me with those affirmations as well, and finding my power of music, which like kind of a side story. So I found that power through TikTok. Actually, I don't know.
TikTok is saving the world, I swear.
It really is. I don't know what made me do it, but I started a 30 days of conquering my stage fright, because I knew sharing my voice was something like, all throughout my life, people would tell me, you could sing, you could write music, like you could rap, you're very talented, but I didn't believe in myself. So I'm like, I knew how far a video could spread on TikTok. So I'm like, let me just post my poetry. Let me just post me singing things I wrote, rapping things I wrote for 30 days. And the feedback that I got, and I could see, I still have a playlist on my TikTok account actually of this journey that I went through. So you could see my confidence growing. Yeah. And that really helped me find my powers. And the things I were performing were things that I wrote. So just getting good feedback, and people wanted me to be a musician, and like, when are you releasing music? Like, we need you to hear you. I need this on my playlist. So having all that combination of all those things, all those people stepping into their power and sharing their gifts, and that just kind of helped propel me along this journey, and helped me find my superpower and believe in myself. And I saw how many people I was helping by just being me and showing up. And it felt right. Like, I wasn't making any money or anything. I was just helping people, and it truly felt good to just do what I love and do what I felt called to do. So yeah, that's kind of how all that helped me be who I am.
Oh, I feel so inspired by that. I think that for me, there's been a big shift in the last 6 months just with content creation, and like actually creating this podcast has been really powerful for me to just be able to have a place where I can share my inspirations and my insights. And for so long, I just didn't feel like there was any value there. And that's like a big part of being a woman. We've just been told over and over again, like, oh, your thoughts, your opinions, like that doesn't matter, right? Like, what you're bringing to the table isn't exactly. And that just, oh my God, it makes me want to cry. It's so sad. And I do not want my daughter to grow up in a world where she doesn't feel like her voice matters. So
yeah.
I'm so grateful for our kids right now.
Yeah.
These two little girls have like, you know, powerful mommies who have, you know, this boldness and this bravery to like share.
You both obviously believe in yourself, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to do the things if your self-concept wasn't already in the place where you believed enough in yourself, you wouldn't feel safe enough. Your nervous system would not allow you to do these things. And I think that that's something that Sunshine was touching on when she was talking about her 30 days that she challenged herself to create content. What was actually happening, in addition to what was going on for her creatively, is she was also getting her nervous system used to being able to receive this attention, to be able to receive whatever types of comments or criticisms or positive feedback or whatever else may be coming. That was a very, very smart and kind way for her to start getting her body used to accepting that into part of her experience, and so that it felt good and it wasn't traumatizing. I hope it wasn't traumatizing. Has it felt traumatizing, Sunshine?
No, it's just been a very healing experience. Very healing.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. And what I'm hearing too, as I'm listening to this, the story that you're telling us of your life and your music, is that there are going to be other people out there who are going to come across this podcast and listen to this, and they're going to be like, okay, I can do it too. I can fucking believe in myself too. I can do this too. And they can go out and start making their dreams become a reality as well.
Yeah. And that's another one of my intentions with doing what I do, to show people that they can do anything that they want to do.
Your music is so healing. I want to tell a little story. So this is a little bit of my like personal reflection of coming into the world of Sunshine Reigns. I was listening to a lot of the same artists that Sunshine has cited as influence to her, like N Teeb and Londrelle. That brought me to Sunshine's music. And I remember the first song, How Good Can It Get? I was with my dance circle and we all got to pick a song. I actually wrote Sunshine a fan message about this before I invited her to be. Yeah, it was when I was fangirling on her. I was like, you have to know that this magical thing happened because of your music. So we each got to pick a song, and when that song was playing, then we whoever wanted to join in on that dance with us could join in, right? So the song starts playing, and I'm out there dancing, and all of a sudden, almost everybody else gets on the dance floor too. They are all feeling it in their body. We're all really witchy, and we're in this, erotic movement class. And so everybody ends up on the floor, like writhing on the floor, doing our dances, and we all end up pounding on the floor. And it just got louder and louder, and the floor was like vibrating, and we are just like feeling all of these vibrations move through our body. We are experiencing her music on a spiritual level, like within our bodies. It was extremely somatic. It was a very, very beautiful moment to share with everybody. And I'm always going to remember that moment from that song. It's really, the music and the affirmations within the music were already so speaking to me. But then to share that experience with other people, I was just like, this fucking musician is going to blow shit up. Like, she is going to, look at this. She's literally shaking the earth, with this power that she's bringing. And it was just really beautiful. The other thing that I do is with your song, I Love My New Space. I use that for my vagal toning, actually. So I am in the process of manifesting a new space into my life. And if you're not familiar with vagal toning, it's a way that you can stimulate your vagus nerve, which is really important to nervous system regulation. And when you're stimulating your vagus nerve, it's doing things such as humming, or there's another thing you can do. It's called the VOO. So you take a deep breath and it's sort of like a foghorn. It teaches your body that it's okay to like calm down. You can stop being in this fight or flight survival mode. You can go into your rest mode. And so I love using your music for toning my vagus nerve.
Wow, that's so powerful.
It's not just the actual music. It's not just the lyrics and the affirmations. There's so much going on that's healing within your music that I think is happening on a subconscious and somatic level that people might not even be realizing they're experiencing. And I just wanted to acknowledge it and give a name to it for people if they don't. They're like, why do I feel so magical when I listen to Sunshine's music? That's why.
Yeah.
Because it is magical.
Right. It's definitely magic. Not gonna lie. I'm definitely gonna have to listen to Bagel Toni.
Okay, so I want to get a little bit into how your music is a reflection of culture and the world that we live in now. So something that I know that you do, Sunshine, is you channel a lot of what you're creating. So I have some questions around that. So here are my questions. I'm just going to give them to you all at once. What is the difference between channeling and flow, or are they the same thing? And how do you create flow in capitalism? What conscious decisions do you make to do things differently as you're creating?
Okay. Channeling and flow, I feel like they're kind of the same thing. But with channeling, it's a little bit more, I feel like it's a little bit more intentional. Like when I would do my channeled mantras for the month, or even if I do a channel mantra, like a custom channel mantra for someone, it's my intentions are to get the message or the energy for the month or channel the energy for that person. But with flow, sometimes something just comes to me in my head out of nowhere. And I think that's where the difference is for me, at least with channeling and flow. And then what was the second question? Was the second question the capitalism?
Yeah. How do you create in capitalism? And the reason that this came to mind for us is we try to work in flow a lot. And sometimes I personally have a difficult time staying in that flow because I'm like, oh, well, we have to do this like messaging strategy. And it's like, you know, there are these expectations, like this is a certain way to run a business, or this is a certain way to make money, or support yourself, or whatever, under like these capitalistic rules. And they just don't apply to flow. I don't believe they do. And so how do we create in those circumstances? Or more specifically, how do you create in those circumstances?
I feel like I take some of the like marketing techniques. I take some of those things, but like a lot of the music and a lot of the audience that I have is super organic. Like I've never paid for an ad. I've never did anything like that. Like I still use some of the like hooks that they say use, or some of the social media platforms in a way to get my things out. Like I'll mention my custom mantras at the end, or I'll post a video on TikTok and lead it to my YouTube channel or something. But I totally get that feeling of like, it's like kind of icky to use those same practices and those same techniques that goes along with capitalism and everything. So I try to keep in my mind that doing what I love, and I set my intentions that this will reach the right people. This will reach exactly who it needs to reach. And I try not to think about the business side of it too much. Even though recently I kind of had a light bulb moment, that because like I was saying earlier, I was doing this for a couple of years now, and I wasn't really making any money from doing it. So I think that kind of helped me as well, just not going into it with that, because I feel like if you're doing what you love, you're doing what you're sitting here to do, you don't really have to think about that too much. Like it'll come to you naturally in a way. It'll come to you easily. But at the same time, we have to realize that what we do and who we are is a service, and we should get paid for that. And that's that recent click that I had, changing my money mindset and changing my ability to make money from doing what I love. So yeah, I think it's more of a natural thing that you just have to allow to come, and don't think about it too much. Of course, know that this is your business. This is how you're going to make money, and you're going to make a lot of money from it. But don't try to force it too much. Let it be in that flow, like you were talking about.
I wonder if kind of like thinking about it differently maybe helps you, as opposed to like, I just feel like when we're talking about capitalism, we're talking about greed, we're talking about unnecessary like excess, right? But like looking at it as an energy flow, like an energy exchange, like that to me feels really good. And that feels in flow. You know what I mean?
Realizing it as an energy flow, that's one of the things that came with that mindset shift, that click, that light bulb moment that I had recently. Like, if everything that we're doing is we're putting out energy, everybody that we're reaching, we're giving them some of our energy. I think the easiest way for us to be poured back into or to exchange energy is monetary, is money. So I feel like that's what made it click for me. Like, the easiest way for me to get this energy back, because it's through money. And at the same time, the money that comes will allow me to continue to help people, to continue to do my work, and to experience more, to live more, and to help more people.
Yeah. Yeah, and once we're able to like make enough money to like support our lifestyles, it's like practicality wise, like especially being a mother and like in this society and in this world, like you have to like just practically you need like these like finances to actually be able to support yourself and your family, right?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, an example for us, at least, I can just share really quick. Instead of using the term marketing, we've intentionally gone in a different direction. And what we say is our messaging. So, because it just, that word like marketing, it just feels so icky to both of us that we've, and I think that that's a really just important thing is being able to use words. I think words have so much power.
So much.
And the intention that we're placing behind our words and just that shifts the energy as well.
Right, because that's how I feel about the word influencer. Like, because I feel like a lot of people, I don't know if people consider me an influencer, but I don't like the word influencer. I consider myself to be an inspiration because I like to inspire people, and that's my intentions with what I do. I'm not trying to influence people to live a certain way, but I rather inspire.
I love that.
I do too. That makes me think of a discussion that Minx and I were having earlier this week about the word work.
Yes.
And using that word, like do your self-concept work, do your workbook, come to our workshop. And I was like, fuck that. I don't want to keep using that word because this isn't supposed to be work. It's supposed to be a fun way for us to be having these reflections that doesn't feel like work. That's the whole point. It's supposed to feel fun. That's why it's based in like pop culture and media and entertainment. But, we also obviously want to give these resources to people to help them deal with unwanted, unpleasant, or unexpected media experiences. But for the most part, this is meant to be fun. And so we started, instead of using the word workbook, we're going to switch to activity book.
Yeah.
I like that.
I was like, you give me an activity book and I'm super excited. I feel like we're going on a road trip. Yeah, exactly. I'm ready. Give me my crayons, my fucking marker. Let's get this activity work. Where's the crossword puzzle? You know what I mean? I'm ready for it. So, but you give me a workbook and I'm like,
it's just a heavy. It feels heavy, right? There are words that make you feel that don't inspire, that don't, so I think that's what's really beautiful about music and lyrics, and I actually have another question, and it might be kind of funny because I don't know if like cannabis is legal where you live, but here my partner owns cannabis dispensaries, so it's like in our world a lot. And I like took a CBD gummy before I went to bed last night and was listening. I was like looking at your Instagram and listening to some of your music and in this kind of heightened space, right? And I just love the visuals that you create when you give your social media videos and when you're using your language to just talk about these concepts and these ideas. And I wanted to know, like, what creates those aha moments for you? Like, mine are definitely done with a little CBD gummy that I eat before bed, and I can, like, get most of my good reflections and writing done in that space. But I wanted to know about, like, your moments of divine realization. Does that come from meditation or... Yeah, I'm just really curious. Medication or meditation?
They come from a lot. Like, yeah, definitely from meditation. I would say for legal purposes, medication as
Yeah.
well. But
Exactly.
yeah, I've one of the affirmations I've been using for a few years is, well, I guess since I started using affirmations, is by I'm inspired something. I haven't used it in a while, but I was using it when I first started this journey. I find inspiration through throughout life or something like that, through everyday life, through the small things. So it'll literally things will just drop out of nowhere. Like I could be cooking and something will come, or I get inspired from other creatives as well. But I also find like with the visuals and things, these are the techniques and the methods that I use specifically that help me a lot. So I'm like, okay, let me just put this out there, create what I know helps me so I can share this with other people. So a lot of those just come from what helps me and just downloads that I get throughout the day, or a conversation that I have, or I'm scrolling on whatever and I see something like that.
Yeah, you're very skilled though at like making that visual connection with your words though. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Well, I know that we've been talking about capitalism a lot, so I'm going to use that as a segue. We do live in capitalism. That's just the system that we're in right now. But I would like us to take an opportunity to discuss any offers that you may have right now, or any way that you would like for people to be able to pay you or support you, any projects that you would like to promote, or any type of causes that you would like to support right now.
Yeah, well, I recently opened a sunroom, and for anybody who doesn't know what a sunroom is, it's like a social media platform where individual creators or just anybody can get on there and they can create those communities that we were talking about. So for the people who really want to connect with each other, we can have conversations over there. I post a lot of more of my personal things, maybe some like erotic poetry here and there, just more readings that I do. So it's only $4 a month, and we just really get connected there. And another thing I do is the channel mantras. So just like the music that I have out currently, I'll do custom ones for people. So I'll either pull cards, or you just tell me what areas of your life that you want to focus on, or that you need affirmations for, and I'll create a channel mantra for you. I'll put it on a loop of me singing it or rapping it, whatever, and then you can listen to it just like my other music, but it's
that's beautiful.
yeah, it's specific to you. And I would love to actually create one for you guys. Jinx and Minx.
Yay!
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
What a beautiful
I
gift.
love that. That is such a gift. Thank you. Wow. I feel like I've just been touched by an angel.
Same. That just made my heart flutter.
Aw.
Amazing.
Yeah, we can definitely talk about that afterwards. And then the last thing that I kind of have going on is my poetry book that I recently released. It's an ebook. It's called My Protection, and it is a collection of words inspired by and dedicated to my inner child. So during my isolation period, I did a lot of shadow work, and I turned a lot of those feelings and those words and those prompt responses into poems and mantras. And yeah, you can find it on my website. It's very healing. I like to read it, or just read a random poem every now and then, and just talk to my girl. You know, we weren't always that close, but we're here now.
I love that. So I've heard you talk about parts work, and I know that you're not talking about it in that context, but I've heard you talk about it a couple of times throughout this conversation. And what I love is that there are so many elements of healing that is involved with what you're doing.
Yeah.
Again, I don't even know if you're aware of like the somatic stuff, the nervous system regulation, and now we're talking even about some parts work when you're talking to your inner child. Even when you were talking about going back to South Carolina and learning how to be at peace with her, like that was, I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is like talking about this type of stuff in a non-clinical sort of way. You know what I mean? And I love that, because different people hear things in different ways, and the information can get through in different ways. So, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely didn't realize that. that all like the nervous system and all that. I didn't know that until today. So thank you.
We are always learning.
That's amazing. Yeah. Well, so I'm going to talk a little bit about an offer that we have available just really quickly. So we are going to be debuting our media mindset makeover services, and it's a way to elevate your media experience. And really, it's if you're the type of person who is tired of scrolling through endless options of not only your streaming platforms, but just scrolling endlessly on social media like Instagram or TikTok, and you're realizing that you're looking for some type of connection, but nothing really feels quite right, it might be because you're looking for a connection within yourself and you're not getting that from these outside influences. Or, it could be something else. Maybe you just need some way to kind of chill out for the night and nothing just really feels right. So these media mindset makeover services that we're designing are going to be able to help you transform your media engagement by curating recommendations that align with your desired self-concept and personal growth objectives. And I find that to be really exciting because we talk a lot about leveling up and making different choices and doing different things that we do that are related to the way we look on the outside, right? A lot of makeover stuff is on our skin and hair and the way our body looks or whatever type of things is going on there. And this is more of like a mindset makeover specifically related to the media, pop culture, and entertainment that you are engaging with or exposed to. I find it absolutely thrilling to be finally able to bring these services to life. So let us know if that's something we can help you with.
Yeah, that sounds great.
And actually, since you're going to make us a mantra, Sunshine, I think we should also, what do you think about this, Minx, offer something to Sunshine with one of our services?
I was thinking that same thing, and I would love for her to be a part of the online course that we're building. It's a 12-month archetype embodiment course that we're building right now. It's going to come out at the first of the year, the new year. So we've got a little bit more time to work on that. But yeah, it's all about embodying these different parts and these different archetypes and getting our bodies and our minds and our just nervous systems regulated in a certain way to be able to embody all the parts of ourselves in a healthy and full and powerful way, right? So we're going to be looking at like the leader, the inner child is another one that we're going to be embracing, and one will be more of like our sensual, sexual side, and the silly side, kind of the playful fool is like another piece. So there are 12 of those, and we're going to be looking at those over 2024.
Wow. Yeah, and we've taken a lot of our inspiration from tarot and astrology in developing these different types of archetypes, because we find that there were so many similarities in what we were seeing in media tropes. And it just made a lot of sense. So that's a really great way to talk about the embodiment exercise for the week.
Definitely.
Okay. So I would just like to invite everyone for your embodiment activity this week to listen to Sunshine's music. Pull her up on Spotify, turn it on, put it on shuffle, whatever you need to do, and get into her vibe. Feel the music. See what comes up in your body. What emotions do you feel? Do you feel anything in a particular place in your body? Do you usually maybe experience pain in a certain area of your body, and you notice when you start listening to her music that pain dissipates? What do you notice coming up for you? Do you find that you want to put on a particular outfit as you're listening to her music? Do you find that you want to light some candles or get some essential oils going? What is coming up for you with your sensory and your body experience as you listen to her music? And then I want you to take that into movement. How does her music make you feel like you want to move? Do you want to be like me? Do you want to get on the floor and start writhing around and pounding and making these vibrations that you feel throughout your body? Or do you feel something more flowy? Are you like a snake and you're slithering as you listen to her music? Like, what comes up for you? Where do you feel it in your body? Who do you want to be when you listen to Sunshine's music?
Love that.
Thank you so much, Sunshine. This has been so wonderful. I just love getting into the space where we've been able to hear about your past and, you know, this healing journey that you've really been on for the past couple years, and how you've accepted and embraced and loved all the parts of you, and you've brought that into what you're offering to others through your music, through your poetry, through, you know, the just social media, like content creation, right? And to be an inspiration. And I really do feel like that is what you've created. You've created a new job title, if you will. It's to be the inspiration. And we all need that. We all need to wake up with that every day. And we all need to remember that we have that within us. So thank you for being that light. Thank you for being that ray of sunshine to me today. And I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much. You're so welcome. I thank you for receiving me and allowing me to take up space. I really do appreciate that.
Anytime.
So happy. Yeah, so happy too. I know as we've been talking over the last few weeks, getting this scheduled and set up, I just keep thinking, like, how can we continue to have Sunshine involved? And so something that has come up for me is I was thinking maybe we could do a panel and she could lead a panel discussion with other female musicians.
Whoa.
And so that's something I want to work on. I would like to talk to Maya, Moonlight Scorpio, you, and Lizzie Jeff on a panel. I think that like, I got chills even just saying those names out loud and thinking of that panel. I think that it would be amazing. So I'm just going to speak that into the quantum so that it can go out into the universe and come back to us if that's something that aligns for everybody else I just mentioned. But that's sort of a way that I would love to work with you again. And I hope that we can do that. So
yes, of course.
If you have really enjoyed this conversation with Sunshine, then we are going to ask you, please follow, subscribe, rate, like, review, share, and do all of the things that you can. Subscribe to her Sunroom, everything that you can with Sunshine to support her. And then also do that with us, because we're going to bring you some more content like this with other amazing artists and guests who have these amazing stories to share about their self-concept and how media and pop culture has influenced them in creating what they create in the world. And if you're listening to us on Spotify, remember that we invite you to interact with us in our polls and questions that are available on Spotify. Thank you once again for joining us, Sunshine Reigns. Thank you, Minx, for taking time today to talk with Sunshine and I about her amazing story. And until next time, keep creating your favorite version of yourself and revel on.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thanks for having me.